everyone, welcome back to this channel. So I know that the past couple of videos I've posted have been a bit different from what I would normally post, but today's video is going to be for international students. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the common mistakes that international students are making and how to avoid them. Now, these mistakes might not be just for those studying in Canada. It might apply to a number of international students regardless of where you're studying. Now, the first mistake that international students make is that they mismanage finances. Now we know that money is very important, right? We need money for rent, for tuition fee, for food, basically for everything, the daily cost of living. And one mistake that I've seen from research and or even, actually seeing people do is that they mismanage their finances. Many students underestimate the cost of living, especially in cities like Toronto or Vancouver, which are quite expensive, and they end up struggling financially. Now, what's the solution to this mistake, or how can you avoid this mistake? Is number one, to create a realistic budget. Now, this will include your rent, your groceries, your transportation, your tuition fee, and everything that you think you might need, right? Now, there are two types of international students. There is the undergraduate student and the graduate student, right? For the undergraduate students, for the most part, they would probably be getting money from their parents, maybe, or working to earn money here. It just depends on whatever the case might be, right? So, in such a case, they would typically, of course, have to pay their tuition fee, and every other thing, right, from their own, kind of like by themselves, right? For the graduate students, for those that are, doing like a master's or a PhD, they will typically, for those doing a research-based program, most times they'll be paid by their supervisors or probably getting a scholarship. So in such cases, they would be getting a stipend. Maybe like every 2 weeks they'll get a stipend, and that money is what they would use to put towards their tuition fee or their rent. Basically, that's what will help them for their cost of living and everything in Canada, right? Now that distinction is very important because for the undergraduate students, they will typically not get stipends for the most part. So in that case, I mean, you definitely want to have a realistic budget. You want to actually write down every single thing that you're spending your money on. Rent is how much, for example, $700. Tuition fee is this amount. I mean, that's if your parents are not paying your tuition fee for you, or if you're the one paying by yourself, you're working to pay your tuition fee. Then you of course you need to budget those things, right? So making a very realistic budget is very important. And even for the graduate students as well, even though they're getting stipend, they still need to make a budget because let's be honest, money they are paying us is almost nothing, to be honest, because at the end of the day, by the time you're paying your tuition fee, you're paying the rent, you're paying everything, you're basically left with almost nothing, right? So you're basically kind of living like hand to mouth. And sometimes some graduate students have to end up working to actually kind of sustain themselves. That's if they have families, right? So if you don't make a budget, you will end up mismanaging your finances. And that's one thing I see, most students do. One thing that I've seen people do is that they think that once they come to Canada or whatever country they're going into, they think they're about to come and, blow. They're about to start, something like an independent life. Mostly for those that are maybe undergraduate students, they're leaving their parents and they're coming to stay here by themselves. For them, they think they're coming here to kind of blow. If I can use that word, blow means they're coming here to actually kind of, live large, basically, right? So, and then they come here, the money that their parents are giving them, maybe for like food and stuff like that, they end up using it to do other things. And that's a problem. Sometimes you see students, they are buying cars when they don't need to buy a car. Now, I'm not saying that a car is not important, a car is important, but for some people, it's not necessary. Why do you need a car? Because, back home in Nigeria, and maybe some other parts of Africa as well, a car is kind of like a luxury. If you have a car back home in Nigeria, you're kind of like a big person. People will kind of be like, oh, you have a car. But in Canada here, a car is not a luxury. A car is a necessity. You buy a car because you actually need a car, not because you want a car. So that's one mistake I see students making. They think that they have, they are here, they want to buy a car. They would end up actually now making themselves stressed financially because of the amount of burden they put on themselves. A car is not a luxury in Canada. If you don't need it, don't buy it. Because let's be honest, if you have a car, that car would keep sucking out money from you. You pay insurance for the car. I think insurance is compulsory to be paid here for a car, I think. And then you're paying for parking spaces. If you go somewhere to go and see somebody or go and do something, You pay for parking space there every single time. You pay to park your car. For 1 hour, for 2 hours, you're paying. You are paying for parking space even in your building where you are. You pay to park your car in your building. And also buying gas as well. Those things, they are kind of liabilities on you as a student, right? And sometimes the car is not even necessary. Check yourself. Do I really need a car? If you can get a bus from your bus stop, maybe from your house, to school, or even if it's just two buses, if you can get a straight bus somewhere, you don't need a car, honestly. Just check yourself and ask that question. Do I really need a car? Not do I want a car? Everybody wants a car, yes. But the question is, do I really need a car? Right? Or whatever it is you're buying. If you don't need it, then don't buy it because sometimes those things might be a burden on you. You might actually now need to pay to actually maintain those things, and then you begin to get stressed financially. For me, honestly, I would even say that if you have money, I would say invest in a house rather than a car because a car, basically, like I said, you keep trying to maintain the car, you keep paying money every single time. There's no return back to you. But for a house, I mean, a mortgage is an investment, right? Actually, if you can afford to buy a car without paying instrumentally, I'll just say use that money to go and buy a house or to go and pay down payment for a house and get a mortgage. That's if it's possible, right? Because in that sense, the money you are using to pay your rent can easily go into your mortgage, right? So, but that's just me, right? I'm not saying that you should do that because buying a house or buying or getting mortgage is also stress in itself, right? So, but at least that's an investment compared to a car. Basically, if you're an international student, think about your expenses. I've seen students getting 2 jobs, 3 jobs because they're trying to meet up to the amount of things they've spent. That's why people begin to get stressed. Students will begin to get stressed. You are here to study, not to work. When you want to work, you would work. Once you're done with your study, you would now start to work, and then those things will become, you have more money to buy those things. One way to help you financially is by getting part-time jobs. I think it's 20 hours per week, for students to work, right? And I think full-time during the breaks, right? So you can do those things, they would help you. You get more money in that way. But then it shouldn't be the main focus when you are studying. Buy only what you need, right? Write out a realistic budget. I think I'll make another video of how, to budget, maybe how to plan financially if that's possible. If you can, use an Excel file, write out every single thing you need. Light bill is this amount for my phone bill, my rent is this amount, and then every month you can actually plan towards those things, right? For those that are getting stipend, maybe they are working or getting stipend from the supervisors or whatever, you can actually now plan it. So every 2 weeks is when you get your pay, right? So then you know that the first week when your paycheck comes is your rent or your light bill, right? And then the next 2 weeks will be maybe like your phone bill or your internet bill or something, right? So that you don't get too overworked. Sometimes people now end up not having enough money at the end of the day because all their bills are coming in the first of the month when they're getting their paycheck, and then it's not even enough to pay all the bills, right? So basically plan very well, plan very well. Don't make this mistake so that you're not burdened and you're not stressed out about your finances. Another great tip to look into about finances is that look out for student discounts. There are many discounts that we don't know about. Flights, shopping, it might even be groceries as well, buying clothes and stuff like that. You'll be surprised that there are many discounts there for students. So if you can, as you're going out, always carry your student ID card because you might not know what you actually get off as a discount. Make use of those things just to kind of help you with your finances. The second mistake that international students make is that they don't understand or follow their visa or work permit rules. Now, for your study permits, there are rules that are attached to the study permits. Make sure you follow these rules. So, if you see your study permit, there are rules that govern that permit for your stay in Canada or in whatever country you are in. Make sure you are not actually violating any of those rules because if you do, they can actually revoke or get you deported. So, just everything that they say you should do, just do it. Don't even try to cut corners. And that's a mistake that most students are making is that they don't follow the rules. The study permit says work only 20 hours per week. Don't work past 20 hours per week. Check your study permit expiration dates. If it's expiring in 6 months, start applying for the extension before 6 months of the expiry date or 3 months. Don't wait until it's expired or almost expired. That's the mistake that most people are making. And then they begin to worry and begin to cry and have problems. Make sure you're following the rules that are on your study permit, please. And then check the IRCC website every single time. They update these things every single time. There are many new rules that are coming out now. For example, for the PGWP now, there's a rule that says that you must have an English test, CLB of 7, I think. So if you're not following those things, you might actually miss out on those updates, right? And if you just say, "Oh, I don't know, that's why I didn't do it," it's not an excuse, right? So make sure you're on top of those updates that are coming out from IRCC. I mean, that's why we have many channels like my own that is talking about those updates that keep coming out, right? So make sure you are following the rules of your study permits. Please don't make this mistake. Another mistake that international students are making is that they're underestimating the weather. And I think I've made this mistake myself as well. Canada is a very cold place. So if you're coming to Canada, just know that it's very cold in Canada. Somewhere like Manitoba, Winnipeg can get to minus 50 sometimes, and that's very cold. And that's something that some students actually are not doing. They're not prepared for the weather. Now, I have a video on my channel talking about things to bring when you're coming to Canada. I'll link it somewhere, in this video. So go and watch that video, right? So you would know what to bring when you're coming. Sometimes students think that they can just survive with just buying a hoodie and jeans and that's it. And that's not right, right? Now, to avoid this mistake, you need to invest in thermal underwears, in like thick jackets that can, keep you in the minus 40 kind of temperature. There's nothing like you can over prepare. You can under prepare, but you can't over prepare for the winter. Actually, get those kind of thick socks. If you can get like 5, if you need to wear 5 at the same time, do it. For me, I think I was always underestimating the weather every single time because I'll go out and I'm like, why am I always cold? Because you don't dress well. That's why you're always cold, right? I think I heard someone saying, or I saw it somewhere, that there's no bad weather, there's only bad dressing. I mean, when I first heard it, I was like, I don't believe it. There's bad weather. I mean, it's cold. But actually, think about it. No matter how cold it might be, right? There's a way you can dress that you actually feel warm. If it's to wear like 5 clothes on top of, your jacket or under your jacket, it's possible. You can do that. Wear 2 gloves, wear 5 socks. It's possible. And that's a mistake that most international students are making, right? They are underestimating the weather. Don't underestimate the weather. Make sure your apartment has heater. I mean, of course, I feel like most houses in Canada would have heater, I think, inbuilt already. Even if you came in the summer, right? Make sure the heater is working, right? When they come to, give you the house tour and everything, check and make sure the heater is working. Because in the winter, it can get very cold, even in your apartment. So make sure your apartment has proper heating and insulation. And for places like Vancouver, don't forget to get your rain gear. I hear it rains a lot in Vancouver, right? So make sure you are prepared for such weather. The fourth mistake that students are making is that they're not seeking for help when needed. Studying in a new country, right, can be very overwhelming, especially if it's very different from where you're coming from or what you're used to. Now, most students think that they can do it by themselves, right, and they don't actually seek for help. But the thing is, universities in Canada, they have many resources that can actually help you succeed here, right? But you just need to ask for help. Take advantage of academic advising, counseling services. Most universities have many resources for international students. That's what they are there for. Because if you don't use them, they're just there. They've actually put those things aside for international students. They have money, they have people that are there for just that purpose. So use those resources. Go for counseling if you want to, because mental health is something that is very important here. I mean, of course, people would tend to feel alone and very depressed sometimes. And then there's also the service that you can actually go to for like groceries and stuff like that. I know for U of M, that's University of Manitoba, there's like a service that you can go to for like financial aid if you actually have problem with maybe buying groceries and stuff like that. I think they give students like every 4 weeks or something like that. They can just package something for you. Those things are there. Like they put money aside for those things. If you don't use those things, then what's the point of those things, right? So those things are there. And don't be shy to go and meet them. Don't think that, oh, if you go and meet them, you look like you're poor. No. Those things are there for students, right? Like there are stuff that are there, like maybe rice, pasta, tomatoes, stuff like that, like canned stuff, right? Those things will actually save you money in the long run. So use those services. Ask people, ask your classmates, ask your friends. They'll point you to those directions and stuff like that. Don't be isolated. That's something that that we tend to do a lot, and I think it's a mistake, right? Even for me as well. That's something that I had to kind of come out of, right? Don't be quiet. Seek help if you need help. If you cannot understand something in your classroom, ask the professor. Put up your hand, ask them. Don't be quiet. If you can, join tutoring groups, join study groups. Just don't be alone. Seek help if you need help. Now, this fifth mistake is something that is very common, even for me as well. I feel like I've made this mistake many times. I'm probably still making them even now. is sticking to your comfort zone. Don't stick to your comfort zone. Don't make this mistake. I mean, of course, you would typically want to be around people that are from the same culture, right? You want to make friends with people that, you can speak and they will understand you, you speak your language and stuff like that. But that's a mistake, right? Actually, to experience this Canadian culture, you need to actually come out of your comfort zone. You need to kind of make friends with Canadians. The Canadians actually want to experience our culture as well, right? So if you keep to yourself, then you won't experience Canadian culture and they will actually not know also about you. Don't be in your comfort zone. Don't just be like, I mean, for me, I'm an introvert. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to be by myself, right? But I'm trying to come out of that, talk to people, meet new people, not just the Nigerians around me, just talk to people as well. You can join clubs, you can join those organizations, you can join sport teams, you can volunteer for stuff. From those kind of things, you can get to meet new people from other countries as well. You can experience new culture as well. Basically try out new things. Be open to trying out new things, new food, new experience, and everything, right? Don't just stick to your comfort zone. Of course, the word there is comfort zone. Of course, it's very, very, comfortable. But then just try to go out of your comfort zone. Don't be in your cultural bubble. Try to be exposed to Canadian culture. If you can't go out with Canadians, go to hockey games with Canadians and stuff like that. All of this will kind of help you with your communication skills as well, because that's something that most employers here want. They want to see you communicate with people. How good are you with communicating with people, basically, right? So don't make the mistake of just being in your comfort zone. The next mistake that students are making is that they don't understand the classroom culture in Canada. It's different from, back home in Nigeria or whatever country you're coming from. Because in this place, the professors want you to interact and participate in classrooms. They want you to actually put up your hand and then ask questions. They want you to actually be kind of like, if you can't, just rebut what they're saying, right? And then ask them questions, just kind of like not tackle them in a way, not in a bad way, but like they want you to actually come up with ideas that they will probably not think about by themselves. Basically, that's what they want here. Back home, when lecturers are talking, students are kind of quiet, basically a form of respect or something like that. But here is actually quite different. If you check your syllabus for that thing where they put on your grading scheme and all of that, if you check, sometimes some scores are allotted for just talking and asking questions in class. So basically, they want you to participate in class. Don't be quiet. When you're quiet, then you look like you don't know anything, right? Even if the question might not sound so good in your ear, the fact that you're actually talking, right? Just basically talk in class. And of course, that will probably require you going to read up on something, the notes that they send to you. Just basically read up on it. Just basically Google what question can I ask about this topic, and you see some questions you can ask them, basically. It might even be something that you actually know, but then just to kind of show that you're actually involved in the class, it's very good to actually do that. Also, make sure you're actually following the plagiarism rules in this place, because academic integrity is a very big deal here. They take plagiarism very seriously. If they catch somebody actually plagiarizing, they can actually expel the person or ask the person to withdraw from the program, right? So it's so bad. So make sure you are following the rules before you submit your assignment. Make sure that you've done the plagiarism checker many times. Even if it's just 1%, make sure there's no plagiarism in any form, right? That's very, very important. Another mistake that students are making is that they are not planning for their life after graduation. I know that in school, it might seem as though, I beg, I'm tired, I want to just graduate, I want to be done. But then you need to start planning, even way before you graduate, like way, way, way before you actually start thinking of graduating. Start planning about like things that you want to do, and don't wait until you graduate before you start thinking of what to do. Many students don't plan about their career or immigration option until they've graduated or about to graduate, and that's a mistake. What you need to do is to visit your university's career help service website. I think they would have that site where you can learn how to make your resume, how to apply for jobs, how to go for interviews. There are many, many workshops they have nowadays that they do those things not just for those that are graduating, but for everyone that is interested. And of course, you shouldn't wait until you're about to graduate before you start to attend those kind of workshops. Start doing them as early as possible, because you would know how to write your CV, your resume, your cover letter, how to, do interviews and stuff like that. They're very important. And there are also workshops about networking, internships, volunteering opportunities. Those things are very important because they will help you after you graduate. Now, again, like I said, don't wait until the last minute before you start thinking about PGWP or the PR pathway. Think about it. If you want to apply for PR, if you think that PR is what you want to do after you graduate, like immediately after you graduate, start the process early enough. Of course, for PR, you need to have like your English test and stuff like that. I mean, now for PGWP, it's almost similar, actually, right? So don't wait until the last minute to start booking your English test. Plan before that time. If you know you graduate in May, for example, you must have booked your tests before that time, right? So plan ahead. Don't wait until graduation before you start to plan. Now, still under this seventh point is that you don't just cut off all contact with your classmates or professors. Because one thing I've seen in this place is that networking is very important. To get jobs or to get any opportunities in Canada, networking is very important. You know, if someone knows somebody, somebody knows somebody, and sometimes it's actually very scary, but that's it. I mean, it's almost similar everywhere. I mean, you have to know somebody to kind of know somebody that knows somebody that you know. It's very similar many places, even Canada, right? So networking is very important. I mean, of course, you have to kind of have like a reliable source. Oh, I know this person. I work with this person. Oh, she was in my classroom. She was always answering questions in my classroom, and always kind of having discussions and stuff like that. I think she will be a great addition to your company. You see, so the professor is kind of helping you get a job. Your classmates is working somewhere, and the person will refer you about. So basically, networking is very important. So don't just cut off all contacts with everybody and like I'm done. I beg, I'm done. Just go away. No, don't do that. Now, this last point I will make is kind of like a bonus point. I would say one mistake I see that international students are making is that they tend to change their accents or they tend to reduce their culture in a way, right? And I think that's something that sometimes you might not even know they are doing it. I mean, you're in Canada, right? You think that most people will not understand your accent, and then you begin to change your accent. You ask people their name, and of course, their name is probably like a local name, and then they've changed it totally. Somebody that is Akin is Akin. I'm like, what's happening? And that's a mistake, I think, because you are kind of like reducing your culture in a way. Even though like you've left Nigeria or your country to come here, even though this is not your country technically, but I would say still be proud of your culture. The thing is, like I said, they actually want to learn your culture. They want to know about you, right? They can learn your name. It's not so hard like you think, right? Don't change your name because it's so hard for them to call. Don't do that. And that's a mistake I see people are making. I mean, for me, my name is so simple. My name is Patience Obi. And sometimes, even Obi, as simple as it is, I see myself saying Obi. And I'm like, my name is not Obi. My name is Obi, Patience Obi. So don't try to change your name because of Canadians or try to dampen your culture or try to hide who you are. Don't do that because they want to actually see you. Like, you see them excited about your culture. Like, oh, wow, really? Okay. So don't change who you are because you are in Canada. Don't change your culture because you're in Canada. All right, so that's the end of this video. I hope this video has helped somebody. So if you're in Canada currently and you're making one or two of these mistakes, I hope this video will help you to change your ways. And if you are new in Canada, I hope this video will help you avoid the mistakes. All right, so if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And yes, please tell me in the comment section what video you would like to see next. Give me video ideas of what you want to see on my channel. All right, so if you've enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.